Chúng ta đến cái phần tóm tắt văn phạm Anh Văn. Phần trình bày nội dung gồm có thứ nhất là cái lời nói đầu, phần thứ hai là tự loại, thứ ba là cấu trúc câu, danh từ, đại danh từ, tỉnh từ, động từ, trạng từ, tán thán từ, liên từ, giới từ, chỉ định từ. Trong cái clip đầu tiên này thì chúng ta chỉ có trình bày một phần, đó là cái phần về giới thiệu và tự loại. Bây giờ tôi sang trình bày cái phần là cái lời nói đầu. Cái tài liệu này là nhằm mục đích giúp học sinh các lớp 9, 10, 11 và 12 các trường trung học ôn tập để nắm bắt lại căn bản của tiếng Anh. Mà sau khi học xong tài liệu này thì cái học sinh sẽ nắm bắt được phương pháp và có thể tự học tiếng Anh, có tự tin để thi vào các trường đại học mà đòi hỏi cái trình độ ngoại ngữ tiếng Anh, hoặc là đi học nước ngoài ở các cái trường đại học mà sử dụng Anh ngữ là cái ngôn ngữ để giảng dạy. Để mà học tốt thì học sinh cần nắm vững thứ nhất là cái ngữ pháp, hai là từ vựng, rồi cấu trúc câu tiếng Anh và đi sâu vào chi tiết các trọng tâm này. Sau đó người học cần phối hợp với từ điển, văn phạm tiếng Anh, Google Translate để phục vụ cho công việc tự học nâng cao của mình. Bây giờ tôi sang cái phần tự loại. Trước khi đi vào phần tự loại đó thì ta xin nói tổng quát là bất kỳ một cái ngôn ngữ nào đều có một cái cấu trúc của cái hệ thống ngôn ngữ đó. Chúng ta muốn học tốt, học về một ngôn ngữ thì chúng ta phải nắm cái hệ thống đó. Thì một trong cái phần trình bày về cái hệ thống đó thì chính là cái tự loại. Thì đối với cái Anh ngữ chúng ta có 9 cái tự loại được sử dụng. Cái thứ nhất là danh từ, cái thứ hai là động từ, cái thứ ba là tỉnh từ, trạng từ, chỉ định từ, giới từ, đại danh từ, liên từ và tán thán từ. Thế thì danh từ là gì? Danh từ là những cái từ được dùng để chỉ người, nơi chốn, vật, động vật, phẩm chất, ý tưởng hoặc hành động. Hay là động từ thì được dùng để diễn tả những hành động, sự kiện và trạng thái. Còn đại danh từ đó thì được dùng để thay thế cho các danh từ hoặc nhóm từ danh từ. Tỉnh từ thì được dùng để diễn tả các thuộc tính của danh từ, bao gồm chất lượng, số lượng, phạm vi hay là những nét đặc trưng. Trạng từ thì được dùng để bổ nghĩa cho động từ với tỉnh từ, trạng từ khác hoặc là toàn bộ câu. Nó cho chúng ta biết làm thế nào, ở đâu, khi nào, bao nhiêu và với tần suất như thế nào. Giới từ thì được dùng để chỉ phương hướng, vị trí, thời gian hay là cái cách mà danh từ liên hệ, và chúng cũng giới thiệu về sự vật. Liên từ là từ được dùng để liên kết cùng với nhau các từ, nhóm từ, mệnh đề hay những câu khác nhau. Cái phần tự loại tiếp tục là chúng ta sang phần tán thán từ. Tán thán từ là từ được dùng để diễn tả cảm xúc hơn là ý nghĩa. Chúng thì độc lập về mặt văn phạm của những chữ xung quanh nó. Và cuối cùng là chỉ định từ, thì được dùng để xác định ý nghĩa cụ thể của cụm danh từ. Chúng bao gồm mạo từ, từ sở hữu, chỉ định từ, hoặc định lượng. Bây giờ các em nghe các cái clip mà có liên quan về cái vấn đề là tự loại.
Hi, I'm Kasia. Welcome to Oxford Online English. In this lesson, you can learn about parts of speech in English.
How many parts of speech are there in English? Can you name them and explain what they do? Understanding parts of speech, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and so on, can help you to understand English sentence structures and how English grammar works.
In this class, you'll learn the basic information about parts of speech. You'll see some ways that parts of speech can be more complicated than you might expect, and you'll have several chances to practice. So, first question. How many parts of speech are there?
Well, I did a Google search and many of the top results said 8. So, there must be 8 parts of speech in English.
Wrong. There are 9.
Ah, what are they?
Number 1, nouns. Nouns can be things, animals, or people, like doctor, pencil, tree, or cat. Nouns can also be ideas or abstract things, like happiness, time, or money.
Number 2, verbs. Verbs can be actions, like do, run, fly, or win. Verbs can also describe states, like be, love, believe, or understand.
Number 3, adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns. For example, red, big, metal, or beautiful.
Number 4, adverbs. Adverbs can describe verbs, meaning they describe how someone does something. For example, quickly, loudly, angrily, or well. Adverbs can also describe adjectives, other adverbs, or even whole sentences. For example, very is an adverb which can describe an adjective, very slow, or another adverb, very slowly. Unfortunately, or sometimes, are adverbs, which can be used to add information to a whole sentence. For example, unfortunately, they missed the train and were late to their own wedding. Sometimes, I wish I'd made different choices in life.
So adverbs are a little more complicated. Here's a good way to remember it. Adjectives and adverbs both describe other words. They are both used to add information to something else. Adjectives describe nouns, and adverbs describe everything else. Verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and whole sentences.
Number 5, pronouns. Pronouns replace or represent nouns. For example, I, you, she, or they are pronouns which represent different people. You use pronouns to avoid repeating the same word, or to refer to something when it's obvious what you mean.
For example, how was the weather there? There's a pronoun which refers to a place. If you've already mentioned the place you're talking about, you don't need to say it again.
Another example. Give me 2, please. 2 is a pronoun which refers to a quantity of something which has already been mentioned. The person you're talking to already knows what you're talking about.
Number 6, prepositions. Prepositions usually go before a noun or noun phrase. What's their job? Prepositions can do 2 basic things. First, they can add an idea of time, place, or movement to a noun. For example, on Wednesday, in the corner, towards the door.
Secondly, prepositions can connect other words to a noun or a pronoun. For example, think about the verb depend on. The preposition on connects the verb depend to the object of the verb. For example, it depends on the cost. Usually the noun or noun phrase goes after the preposition. However, sometimes a preposition can link to a noun or pronoun earlier in the sentence. For example, what does it depend on? Here, on links to the pronoun what.
Conjunctions. Conjunctions connect 2 things. A conjunction can connect 2 words. I like cake and ice cream. A conjunction can connect 2 phrases. Do you want to go now or wait till this afternoon? You can also use a conjunction to connect two clauses. Although I've been trying to learn for years, I'm still really bad at drawing.
Number 8. Determiners. Determiners go before a noun. They include words like a, the, this, or that, which help to specify which noun you're talking about. Words like my, your, his, her, etc. are also determiners. They specify which noun you're talking about by saying who something belongs to. Determiners can also tell you how many of something there are. Look at 3 examples. 10 bananas, some people, both of my brothers. The words 10, some, and both are determiners.
Number 9. Interjections. Interjections are different because they aren't normally part of a sentence. Interjections are words or phrases which show how you feel. For example, wow! Oh crap! No way! So now you know about the 9 parts of speech in English.
Let's practice. Look at 3 sentences. Each sentence has 5 words. 1. They told me about it. 2. Look in the big cupboard. 3. Put it in there, but carefully. Can you identify which part of speech each word is? Pause the video and think about your answers.
How did you do? Could you identify the parts of speech correctly? Let's look at one more. I'm staying in this evening. What part of speech are these words? Think about it.
So, I is a pronoun, am is a verb, and staying is also a verb. What about in? Did you say it's a preposition? It's not a preposition. It's an adverb.
How does this work? We had the word in one of the sentences you saw before, and it was a preposition. So, what's going on?
Some words can only be one thing. For example, the words independence or hair can only be nouns. Believe and destroy can only be verbs. However, many words can be more than one part of speech.
There are 2 things happening here. First, a word can be 2 different things which have the same written form and the same pronunciation. Think about the word win. Is it a noun or a verb? It can be both. I'm sure they'll win the game this weekend. We'll be hoping for a win in the big game this weekend.
Many words are like this. Red can be an adjective or a noun. What do you think about this red for the kitchen? I like that red top she was wearing. This is very common. Very often, a word with one written form can be 2 or more different parts of speech. We told you there are 2 things happening here. What's the other?
Sometimes, a word can be different parts of speech depending on its function in the sentence. Look at 2 sentences. I have a few photos of my grandparents. Sure, you can have a few. Here's the question. What part of speech is few in these sentences?
In the first sentence, few is a determiner. In the second, it's a pronoun. Can you explain why this is?
Think about what few does in these 2 sentences. In the first sentence, few adds a quantity to the noun photos. It tells us how many photos you have. This makes it a determiner.
In the second sentence, few replaces a noun. You know which noun it replaces, but in context, you would understand what the person meant. Maybe it was a few biscuits or a few pieces of paper. We don't know. But you do know that few replaces a noun, which makes it a pronoun.
Another example is the sentence we saw before. I'm staying in this evening. Prepositions go with nouns, and connect nouns to other words in the sentence. In here doesn't go with a noun, so it can't be a preposition. In here means at home, and it adds information to the verb stay. What kind of words add information to verbs?
Adverbs. So, in is an adverb. Wait a minute. Did we ever finish explaining what parts of speech are in this sentence?
You're right, we didn't. Let's do it now. You need to say what parts of speech the words this evening are. Can you do it?
Maybe you said that this is a determiner and evening is a noun. That's technically correct, but it's not the best answer. The best answer is that this evening is an adverb. How do you explain that?
Until now, you've seen single words and how single words can be nouns, verbs, etc. However, when you're thinking about parts of speech, you can't just think about single words. Phrases can also be nouns, verbs, adjectives, and so on. Let's do an example. Add a small spoonful of brown sugar, then turn the heat down and stir the mixture gently. Think about the first part of this sentence. Add a small spoonful of brown sugar. What parts of speech do we have here?
Of course, you can go through it word by word. You can say add is a verb, a is a determiner, small is an adjective, and so on. But is that the most useful way of looking at it?
It makes more sense to see this as a verb add and a noun, a small spoonful of brown sugar. The noun is made of several parts of speech, determiners, adjectives, prepositions, and nouns. But together they have one meaning. These words refer to one thing.
You can analyze a sentence in several different layers. So you can see a small spoonful of brown sugar as 6 individual words, or one noun phrase. You can also see it as 3 parts: a determiner, a small spoonful, a preposition, of, and a noun, brown sugar.
Confused? We understand. You want to know the answer. You want to know which way is correct. There isn't one correct way to say this. There are different perspectives. A better question is, which perspective makes more sense?
In this sentence, a small spoonful of brown sugar refers to one thing in the world. So it makes sense to think of it as one part of speech in the sentence. What about the second part of the sentence? How do you analyze the parts of speech?
As you saw before, there isn't one right answer. But here's a suggestion. The sentence contains a conjunction, then, and then 2 verb phrases linked with the conjunction, and. This makes sense because the sentence is telling you to do 2 things. Turn the heat down and stir the mixture gently.
So it makes sense to see turn the heat down as one part of speech, because it's telling you to do one thing. Let's put these ideas together.
First, when you think about parts of speech, you can't just memorize information. You have to look at each sentence individually and think about what each word is doing. Secondly, always think about what the sentence means in the real world. Sentences aren't abstract things. They refer to real people, real things, and real actions.
There is always more than one way to analyze the parts of speech in a sentence. Choose the way that makes sense based on what the sentence is telling you about real life. Let's do a more challenging practice exercise so you can see these ideas in action.
Look at 3 sentences. Amazing! It's way better than I ever thought it would be. She was an amazing clinician who came up with many innovative ways to treat patients. I don't believe it.
How would you analyze the parts of speech in these sentences? Think about the ideas we talked about in the last section. Does it make sense to break the sentences into individual words? Or is it better to group words into phrases? Pause the video and think about your ideas.
Ready? Here are our answers. You can pause the video again to look at these in more detail. Notice how the same word can be different parts of speech in different sentences. For example, amazing is an interjection in one sentence and an adjective in another.
Notice also the different layers of analysis. For example, look at the phrase many innovative ways. You can see this as one noun phrase, or as a determiner plus a noun phrase, or as three individual parts, a determiner, an adjective, and a noun. Which is correct. They all are. Choose the perspective which makes more sense to you.
Want more practice with this topic? Check out the full version of this lesson on our website, oxfordonlineenglish.com. You can practice with a quiz to check your understanding of parts of speech in English.
Thanks for watching.
Parts of speech. Do you know what parts of speech are in English and how many parts of speech are there in English? So, what are the parts of speech? Parts of speech are the markers we use to describe a word's function or the grammatical group to which it belongs. Are there 8 or 9 parts of speech in English? Some grammar sources classify determiners under their own category. But in traditional English grammar, we know 9 parts of speech where a determiner is a part of speech, and they are nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, determiners, prepositions, pronouns, conjunctions, and interjections, or short exclamations. In English, every sentence you write or speak includes words that fall into some of the 9 parts of speech. Please note, some words can be considered more than one part of speech, depending on context and usage. Let's look at the word well in the sentences. Are you well? Well serves as an adjective. He is doing well. In this sentence, well serves as an adverb. Well, I'll call you tomorrow. And in this sentence, well serves as an interjection. Interjections can form complete sentences on their own. For example, oops, wow. Okay, then let's take a closer look at the parts of speech and learn their functions and subcategories with examples, of course. Noun. Nouns are used to name people, places, things, qualities, and activities. For example, grandma, dog, London, pet, teacher, Alex, jazz. Nouns act as the subject or object of the verb. Nouns can be proper, common, abstract, collective, countable, or uncountable. Let's define the nouns in the sentences. This is my dog, Snoopy. He lives with us as a part of our family. There are 2 nouns in each sentence. Verb. Verbs are words people use to talk about actions, states, and things that happen. Generally, verbs can be treated as 2 different parts. Lexical verbs, for example, play, work, think. Auxiliary verbs, such as be, have, etc. There are many subcategories of verbs, such as infinitives, modals, regular, irregular, etc. Verbs are a large part of English grammar. No doubt that nouns and verbs are the most important and useful parts of speech in any language. Let's define the verbs in the sentences. My uncle came to us last month. He wants to win a lottery. There are 2 verbs in this sentence. Adjective. Adjectives are words that describe or modify nouns and pronouns. They specify how long or what kind, the noun, and more. Adjectives allow listeners to imagine the noun or pronoun more clearly. For example, A ball is large, round, and colourful. Have you imagined that ball? Can you find the adjectives in a sentence? I have beautiful flowers in my garden. Which car is yours? The red one is mine. Adverbs. Adverbs describe verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. They are used to say how, when, where, and why something happened, and to what extent or how often. Examples: softly, lazily, often, only, hopefully, sometimes. The basic type of adverbs is adverbs of frequency. Let's look at the sentences. She quickly took her bag. He decided to start immediately. Preposition. Prepositions are the link between a noun phrase or pronoun, and another word or phrase. For example, at, before, in the middle of, etc. We can name several groups of prepositions. Prepositions of directions, place, and time as the main groups, and others. I am sure you will easily define the prepositions in the sentences. I am going for some breakfast. Give that to me. Determiner. A determiner specifies a noun or a pronoun or states quantity to make clear which noun is referred to. They are articles, possessive adjectives, demonstrative adjectives, quantifiers. For example, the, these, my, etc. How about defining determiners in the sentences? He ran to the station quickly. There are 2 cats and 3 mice inside. Pronouns. Pronouns are used to stand in place for a noun to avoid repetition. There are several groups for pronouns: personal, reflexive, possessive, relative, and others. Examples: he, that, they, it, her, etc. Let's look at the sentences. I want this. This is my pencil. Conjunction. Conjunctions are used to join words, phrases, or sentences. For example, and, but, yet, as, etc. The main categories are the following. Coordinating conjunctions connect 2 clauses of equal importance into what we call a compound sentence. There are not many coordinating conjunctions in English. You can remember them with the acronym FANBOYS. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Subordinating conjunctions. When we connect clauses using subordinating conjunctions, we are giving one clause more importance than the other. The less important clause is called a subordinate clause. 2 or more clauses combined with subordinating conjunctions are called complex sentences. Some common subordinating conjunctions are because, although, before, since, when, while, and if. Now is the time to define conjunctions in the sentences. London is a large and important city. I will call you when I get home. Interjection. This is a sort of exclamation that expresses emotion. Interjections differ in feelings of delight, pain, or doubt, etc. Examples: wow, oh, etc. It is easy to determine the interjections in a sentence. Oops, I've broken it. Wow, what a brilliant idea. Well, I'm sure that everything is clear for you. Now, as usual, let's pass a short quiz to see how you understood the parts of speech. From each group of words, choose the correct word for the part of speech that appears on the screen. The word London is the proper noun. The word beautiful is the adjective to describe a noun. The word turn is the verb. The word always is the adverb of frequency. The word towards is the preposition of direction. Did you match the words and parts of speech correctly? I don't doubt that you have coped with this simple task. Thanks for learning English with the lingual.
Chúng ta kết thúc ở đây.